UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.
To me, Tom Brady is the GOAT because he's done more with less than any player at that position we've ever had.
All right, guys, welcome into UNPAVED. I'm Sean. Adam Sager will be along here shortly. Like and subscribe to Rumble and YouTube. Love that. We appreciate you. And I got to tell you, man, the overwhelming support we're getting from this on a daily. I know sometimes people say that hyperbolic and just to say how great they are. We're not even anywhere near where we're going to be. And we try to get better and give you good, solid stuff without, telling you to not listen to your boss or your coach. That's the best way to do it. We try to give it a little bit more deeper insight, but that's who we are. But I'm being honest, and the results are in the way you guys click, view, and comment. So we appreciate it, man. We do come humbly, but with confidence. And thank you, because we're not anything without you guys being a part of it. While it sounds like a little bit of an ass kiss, it's just a fact. And I like to point out when things are happening because of you guys. And so thank you. Let your friends know. And again, like and subscribe. UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury, YouTube, and on Rumble. Listen, we start this show today, and the coaching stuff continues to hit hard because there's some serious. I mean, you got a Super Bowl winner from last year, the reigning Super Bowl champion, who is now, they've had to reshuffle their coaching staff. And then we have the, Packers losing a guy. And we have what's going on in Buffalo with Joe Brady, and Cleveland with a long-time 30-plus year coach who's getting his first chance to be a head coach. That it's amazing how much attention the Browns get, and giving a guy who's a rookie that he's the one going to help make the decisions on Monken. I mean, we get all these crazy suggestions. You guys get what I'm talking about. But I do want to start this out with Sean Mannion. You say, who's Sean Mannion? It doesn't matter who he is. He played college ball. I think it was an Oregon State guy, if I'm not mistaken, Stegs. And he has been a quarterback coach right here with Green Bay, and now he's going to be the new offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. Segs and I will banter about this, but I just want to say this. We've got to get out of our – and it goes both ways. One, we want veteran coaches that have been around a while to do this with experience. I'll tell you this, in Houston, last offseason, a bunch of people pined, and I even raised my hand at one point and said, man, getting Chip Kelly would be great. And they didn't want to pay $6 million. They had, they had somebody in mind, and they hired him, who would have been a rookie first-year offensive coordinator, and Chip Kelly goes to the Raiders and then gets fired halfway through the season. So a veteran, been doing it, had success and some failures. That's like any coach. But, man, you want the veteran. And then when the veteran fails, give me a young face. Well, then you'll hire a young face like a Bobby Slowick, and the quarterback in Houston will have a great rookie year. Average second year, you fire him. He ends up going to Miami. Well, that coaching staff's been fired. And you say, well, not a young guy. We need experience. Well, we need sexy, meaning the name value, and brand awareness, that guy. And then when you get that guy and it doesn't work out, well, you want the guy out for somebody else. It's like if you're a 3-4 defense, you want 4-3 if the 3-4 doesn't succeed. If you're an RPO team, we suck at that. Let's just be a straight drop back, whatever. That's how we do it. It's cyclical both ways. We copycat both and get away from the negative. If you did one thing, if you hired a fiery coach one time, you go and get the reserved one who's not a loud screamer and a cusser, the next one. I just want you to understand this. Don't judge the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator hire since you weren't in the room, and neither was I, since you don't know what he's going to be like as a play caller, and he is a rookie play caller. I wouldn't judge by the fact that you don't know him. You didn't know John Gruden when he started out in Green Bay as an assistant and Philadelphia as assistant. And then you pined for him and he got a job in moves on and kicks ass and wins Super Bowl. It's not the name or the name value. It's how good are they and how do they handle pressure just like a player? Can they get into rhythmic play calling? And there is a major task with the Philadelphia Eagles. It seems like it's an every other year thing. Kellen Moore, great. This year, not very good. Move on, change the offensive coordinator, try to get Sean Mannion to match what was going on. And 2 years ago, when they had their coordinators, both Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon, they went to a Super Bowl. Those two guys went and got jobs. And now they're struggling, and they need to get more out of Jalen Hurts. Even though he's been great in big games, Super Bowls, they need to get more where they need to expand the bandwidth in the passing game. And Sean Mannion's a guy who went through an interview process. You didn't know who Joe Brady was until he went and was with Joe Burrow and changed Joe Burrow's game, and Burrow changed his. So that don't get caught up on why didn't we go get the guy with the big name? It doesn't matter. Then on the other side, you get Vic Fangio, who's one of the best on the planet, been in the league forever and still kicking ass. So give the guy a chance. Don't know him personally. I think he's probably pretty good, judging from the fact that LaFleur believed in him as a quarterback coach, got things going on, and now he's going to get a chance to get into his rhythm as a play caller. And he's got a good team to do it on. So my message today is you can judge all you want, but because you don't know who he is, the only way Andy Reid ever got started, you didn't know who Andy Reid was when he was holding up cards for the scout team in Green Bay. Now he's headed to the Hall of Fame. Everybody had to start before they started. Does that make sense? And it'll be the same here. It's kind of similar to Monken. He's dominated as an offensive coordinator. What will he do as a head coach? We all speculate. We all have our opinion. We don't know. Because a year from now, Cleveland may be saying this is the best hire we've had in 25 years. And they also may be saying he's a better offensive coordinator. So we'll see how that goes. So in Philadelphia, Sean Mannion's coming to you as your coordinator. The last time you had a change at coordinator that you were good, Kellen Moore was calling plays and you won a Super Bowl. And now he's the head coach in New Orleans. Maybe Sean Mannion's the same guy. Segs, come on in. But before we do, let's talk Augusta Precious Metals real quick. 8 p.m., Augusta Precious Metals. Listen, I go to the grocery store a lot. I actually one of those guys who likes to go to the grocery store to when it's cold out, you got to prepare for it. I do. I'm a grocery store guy. And I'm not the guy who orders them and have them delivered. I want to go there and walk down the aisle old school. I still take notes too and don't do everything with a phone. So the other day I am at the grocery store and I'm buying the groceries and it's the same thing over and over again. Buy your eggs, boom. Buy your meat, boom. Everything seems to be raising, right? And then I say, come on, man, how much higher can this get? Last month it was through the roof and it's higher this month. You all are going through the same thing. Doesn't matter how much money you make, the groceries are still there, which leads me to this. Same groceries, same bills, and it's been happening for what, a year, 2, 3, 4 now, or just keeps going, maybe even longer, month after month, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, higher and higher. And you start asking yourself, how much higher can this go? Because it's not stopping. Where's that dam that stops this? Well, Augusta Precious Metals can help. And that's what really worries me about whether it's my retirement savings, family, your kids, or even if it's not retirement, just survival throughout. Are you in it for the long term, the short term? All those things you must find out with whether it's your wealth manager, your financial advisor, or find out about gold and silver and precious metals, tangible assets from Augusta Precious Metals. So if I'm worried about my retirement, the confidence and security and peace of mind we all want, well, how do we get to that? The dollar is a problem. Gold and silver continues to rise. Precious metals. I'm telling you what, and it's not going down right now. This is the time. Don't be late to the party like I was. And what really worries me about that is the retirement savings. It's not just the number on the paper. You have this money over here, but it's about the money you can actually, it's about the money can actually buy. What can it buy? I guess what I'm trying to say. Money here, your balance is staying the same, basically. The groceries and everything keeps climbing. Same retirement savings. Doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. Same balance, but still falling behind, right? Groceries rise and you got the same balance. Man, I'm earning a living. Retirement, peace of mind, that confidence matters in everything you do. Imagine what you're doing at your job. You're good at it. You know you're good at it. And then you say, well, what about this? Well, it's okay to lean on somebody for some assistance because I sure did. That's why a lot of people with retirement savings are diversifying part of their portfolio into physical gold and silver tangible assets, right? Precious metals. They're not chasing returns, but why not protect what you already earned? It's yours, tangible, right here. Those gold bars right in your hands. I took and looked into this myself because I kept hearing about it. I'm like, come on, man. And I need to know more about it. And I did. And I searched 24 precious metals companies. And Augusta reached out. I reached back out. That was the one. And after doing my due diligence and a deep dive, I realized that's who I want to be with. And here's why. Because there's no pressure at Augusta Precious Metals. There is no tactics to scare you into buying gold and silver, just straight education. And when you get just straight education, it stays inside your IRA, your 401k, no taxes, no penalties. So you tell me, in this economy, protecting your position is how you stay in the game. And if you don't, you let Washington, D.C. take care of it. Whether it's that anywhere else where the money is, you're in for a long fight. So if you're going to be in a fist fight, arm yourself. And I don't mean literally, but arm yourself. Savings, retirement savings, precious metals, gold and silver, tangible assets is the way to go. And Augusta Precious Metals is the place to do it. Get this gold IRA guide, this IRA guide at SeanBuysGold.com, or text Sean to 35052. That's SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com, or text Sean to 35052. Click on that link in the description below. I'm just asking you to do one thing for you, your peace of mind. You spend 15, 20, 30 minutes every day doing something that's probably frivolous, just hanging, whatever it is, wasting time. We all do. Take 30 of those and jump on that, SeanBuysGold.com. Check it out and set up whatever it is you need to set up with Augusta Precious Metals. To me, I think you're giving confidence away and security away by not at least doing your due diligence. I did, and I couldn't be happier for it. Get that confidence and security right back, and that peace of mind with Augusta Precious Metals. Gold and silver, tangible assets, 2026, still on the rise. Augusta Precious Metals, SeanBuysGold.com. Segs, I think we've all got caught up in we all do, about the name value on a coach. But at some point in time, you had zero idea. We mentioned Ben Johnson was. Now look, I mean, somehow, you don't just fall off a turnip truck or fall out of the sky and land as a head coach without having any experience. Now, I know some say, well, Philip Rivers interviewed, the other guys in the NBA have done it. Well, that's just, and remember, you only have to impress one guy, right? That's the head coach hiring you, and the GM if there's a second one. So usually the head coach in that, and just get the approval from the guy, because I want my head coach to be armed with whoever he thinks gives him the best chance to win. So in this case and any other case, Cleveland's going to face it with the head coach. Buffalo's facing with the head coach. A lot of first timers that are really good coordinators, and it may not translate. It's the same here. Quarterback coach doesn't mean great play caller. We've seen it, Segs, but you know what it doesn't mean? It also doesn't mean he's not going to be one.
Right.
And so if you're Sean Mannion, you're saying, okay, I have a pretty good quarterback in Jordan Love. I got a Super Bowl MVP in Jalen Hurts. I'm armed with probably a little more artillery overall, both sides of the ball, just maybe a little bit. Green Bay's on the rise and doing some really good things at receiver and growing. But why wouldn't we give the guy a chance? Maybe he just maybe he's the next Joe Brady. Change quarterback's way, change the offensive route, and he's doing what Kellen Moore is and what Joe Brady is now, a young guy getting an opportunity to be a head coach. First things first, they have got to get better in Philadelphia, and it starts with these coordinators, because this team's been on the coordinator thing. It's like Where's Waldo when it comes to Philadelphia the last 4 years. It's different guys all the time. Obviously, the stability is the defensive coordinator and Vic Fangio. They've got to find a guy to settle in, but here's the blessing and the curse. Find a great coordinator, guess what they do? We jump all over them and their head coaches. You got to find another one. So it's a good thing, but it's also a bummer because verbiage, everything continues to change unless it's a guy coming from the same system that they're using the same verbiage. I think Philadelphia will be fine, and I think Sean Mannion was a good player in college, didn't have a great NFL career, but, played and gets it and understands the room. And as I always say, backup quarterbacks a lot of times make great coaches, whether it's quarterback coach, position coach, head coach, coordinator. Why, Segs? And I don't mean this because I was one, but you had to study extra hard twice as much in the film room because you didn't get the reps physically. So what do? Man, I didn't get the reps. So you take that mental rep, which sometimes is cliche, but in this case, it's not, where you're watching, you're a helpmeet for the starting quarterback on the sidelines and in the meeting room, doing everything, but also got to stay ready because they're counting on you, like Davis Mills did, to win 3 games for you so you get to the playoffs, to hold things down. We see it all the time. Yeah. And Teddy Bridgewater did it in New Orleans. What was he, 5-0, Segs, when he took over for Breeze, I think it was. And in the case here, to get into rhythm as a backup, you're watching and you're studying. And if that's you studied 2 hours, you'll take it home for 2 more, because if all of a sudden in the middle of the first quarter, a guy gets hurt and you didn't, you have completely let 50 plus other dudes down in an organization. And I think that's why I think there's an advantage of without the physical. So you see things different a lot of times as a backup quarterback because you have to.
Right.
Sean Mannion is going to get this opportunity to go in and change Philadelphia's offense for the positive, because right now they need it. And they need to get back to the explosiveness they had. We got to give them a chance. Sexy doesn't matter, or name value means nothing for the most part when it comes to execution of plays. Let's see how it works.
Yeah, I think if you're an Eagles fan, you're looking at this one of two ways. Okay. Since Nick Sirianni's been head coach, he had Shane Steichen first. First 2 seasons was the OC. They went to the Super Bowl the once, lost. Then he gets the head job in Indy, right? Next, Brian Johnson. And Shane Steichen had been a coordinator with the Chargers before that, so he'd come in doing the job. Next, they hire Brian Johnson,
who was the quarterback coach the year before.
Yes. First-time NFL offensive coordinator, had been in college at a few different stops, been the offensive coordinator, but never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL. 1 year and done, fired. Bring in Kellen Moore, who had been an offensive coordinator at 2 different stops before Philly. Obviously put up a great year, won the Super Bowl, gets the job down in New Orleans. And then we go to Kevin Patullo next year, never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, 1 year and done. So you can look at this as every other coordinator has been good. They've went to the Super Bowl. So Sean Mannion's that next guy, but also the 2 guys that had never been NFL offensive coordinators were both fired after 1 season. And Sean Mannion's never been an offensive coordinator. So there's 2 different ways to look at this, and it's going to be interesting to see how it works.
And Segs, think about this. We all know who Fangio was. He's been in the league. But you think about Sirianni, Gannon, Steichen, Moore, Johnson. What did you say? Yeah, Johnson, Mannion. Something they all have in common. Do you know that Kellen Moore would be the most popular name of all those guys we named coming out of college, and even when he was a backup for a minute in the NFL, but a good college career at Boise State, he would be the biggest name value. And he wasn't a great player. He was a really great player in college, wasn't a great NFL player. So that common thing is that if I said 10 years ago, Sigs, and I've been close to it for 30 years, how well do you know Nick Sirianni? You'd say, I don't know him. If you did, you heard his name, but you wouldn't know the system he runs. None of us would have, right? It's just moving up, and now the guy's got a ring and been to 2 of them. So we get caught up, and yet when we want the guy with Dave Value and it doesn't work out, Chip Kelly, we're mad that we didn't hire somebody who doesn't have experience. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
you got to play it out and see. And remember, it comes down to one thing: buy-in. Will the players believe in what you're teaching them and what you're doing on game day when it's pressure, nut cutting time, and you're doggone, your heart's in your throat, and you're trying to make a decision with $1:35 to go, and it's 4th down, and coach tells you, dude, we got 2 downs here. It's 3rd down at the 30. Give me your 2 best on this final drive. You don't get anybody to lean on, man. And that's the hard part about that as a coordinator. But the one thing Sean Mannion does have, he's not going to a shitty team. He's going to a team that's pretty damn low, but the expectations will be high for him.
Now, also, though, 2 years ago, he was just an offensive assistant. I think assistant quarterback coach and offensive analysis. Last year was just the QB coach. That's his only 2 years in coaching. I mean, he had been on practice squads and been cut the 2 years before, and then was on an active roster. I think 2021 was his final year.
This is fast track stuff, Sig.
I mean, this is a fast moving thing. And to go into Philly and have all this expectation placed on your shoulders, because we know, I mean, Nick Sirianni is an offensive guy, but it seems the way things go, he only takes the good stuff when they go to the Super Bowl. That's, it's on me and then my coordinators. I got those. But soon as that offense sucks,
otherwise.
Yeah, as soon as that offense sucks, it's Brian Johnson and it's Kevin Patullo's fault, and they're fired immediately. So
they get a little "I confess he did it" guy, right? He gets a little "let me take this pressure off," right?
This is a big season, I think, for Nick Sirianni more so than Sean Mannion. This is Sean Mannion saying, hey, I'm in my 3rd year. Yeah, I'm the offensive coordinator, but I'm still learning. Yes, I have a great roster and I'm expected to go win, but my head coach is also an offensive guy that if it continues to struggle, we got to start looking at Nick Sirianni more so than we got to look at the offensive coordinator. So I think this
Well,
is
he's the
big
one
year for
hiring
Nick
him. He's
Sirianni.
sitting down, going through the
Yes.
meeting room and saying, getting up on the board to do your thing. Sigs, and another thing, my message, not that he's listening to this, but I'm a little bit older than him and have seen enough of it to know that if Sean Mannion sat down with me and said, Sean, what do you think? Sean. I'd say, well, coach like Sean McVay and Sean McVay would be a good start for the Seans. But my thing would be simply this, is do your thing, be confident in the way you teach it, but also whatever you're bringing, cater what you do, regardless of what you did in Green Bay, regardless of what you did at Oregon State or where, it doesn't matter. You make sure that you walk into that building understanding there's 50 plus of those guys and one of you, just meaning the coordinator, that you must cater your offense, look at tape. Gary Patterson, I know we've talked about him at SC, gets into the film room, came in after all this, has been studying film from 7 in the morning to 8 at night all day, every day. And Gary Patterson will be the best defensive coordinator this team's hired at SC in a while. Point is, you're in there saying, Sean Mannion probably already has looked at a bunch of Philadelphia tape, but he's got to do it this offseason, get ready for the draft, but also his own team that are the guys that are going to be there, and look at when they did it their best and when they did it their worst in certain situational football. So my message to Sean Mannion would be, and if I had 5 minutes with him, would be, take what you know and be confident in introducing it in the building, but make sure when you're applying this that you look at what makes your team great. Barkley, the ball in his hands any way you can, 1. 2 is, Hurts is not a straight drop back, put his foot in the ground and let it rip 35 times a game. He can throw it, but where he's at his best is play action, naked, RPO, so he can read it, because then you're taking a lot of the stuff out and letting him do what he feels comfortable with. You don't just tailor it to him, but also you can't wait to get Brown and Smith involved on the edge. Those guys have got to touch it. They've got good tight ends. So you've got to make sure, the greatest coaches I've ever been around, and I continue to express this, while they have their stuff, they don't try to fit you in a place that this offense isn't going to go. And I think in some of the failures they've had there, the mishaps, they've tried to do stuff that make you fit into what the coach wants as opposed to what you do. That doesn't mean player empowerment. I mean, what gives you the best chance to friggin' win? So that's the whole key. Take the ego out, apply, okay, here's what Jalen Hurts does best. So why the hell would I coach him into something he doesn't do well? The whole object. Listen, Segs, if you're a bad driver of the golf ball and you're on the PGA Tour, yes, you go to work and try to drive it. But if you're in between and you hit a 3-wood 295 or 300 and a driver 310, one hits the fairway 80% of the time and the driver hits it 40% of the time, and your balls are in your throat in a clutch moment, which you never want to have your balls in your throat. Right. You know what I mean, Segs? What are you hitting? You're hitting 3-wood to be safe, put it in play, and go play. Same thing here. Don't make me put in a position of running routes if a guy is, or you got your third down back that can't block. Well, you either better get him out on hots and get him out in the route, or you better find a back who can block, and he sits on the sideline in third down situations. So it's the same thing with Hurts. You have to cater this to 11 cats, also matching defense, but you got to play offense the way your team excels the best. Find every strength and maximize it. Don't try to take that weakness. Listen, taking a weakness and getting it better is fine. But if the weakness is just going to be a weakness that's kind of etched in stone, and it's not, you can't take a 4.8 guy and make him a 4.3 guy. Does that make sense, Sage? So if I got a 4.8 guy, he's probably not going to be a vertical stretch player, or he's probably going to be out of the league if you're running 4.8 at that position. But point is that, okay, let me put him in positions to get him operating. Dude, quick example. Chris Carter wasn't running 4.4s, buddy. Matter of fact, Chris Carter probably a high 4.6 in his best, and as he went on in his career and kept catching 100 balls a year, into 4.7s maybe, low. Big body, outside guy in Philadelphia, bring him inside with Minnesota, 8 billion catches later and getting open, great precise route runner. Instead of forcing Chris to stay out there and run fades, you got Chris to do the stuff he even did great at that, but I got him to be able to operate inside, take hits because he's a big physical, tough customer. And then to get vertical, all those things where you can set him up. And so his 4.7 looked like 4.5, right? Segs are his high 4.6, and it felt different. But we maximized the ability of a potential Hall of Famer. Had we have kept him outside, Segs, he wouldn't have seen the ball as much. And you had Warren Moon, you had Dante Culpepper, you had some great players throwing to him. Rich Gannon, was Rich there when Chris was there? Yeah, for a minute he was. And
Yeah.
so to me, that's Sean Mannion's challenge, as in any, is to find what's best and take your stuff, but make sure you're not trying to force feed something that they don't do well and maximize what they do.
We'll see how it works with just going into his third year as a coach, not just an NFL coach. It's not like he's been in college for the last 15 years. This is just his third year being a coach in the NFL, and he's already going to be the Eagles offensive coordinator. On the other side of it, Joe Brady, going into his first year as a head coach, has went out and hired Pete Carmichael, who he overlapped with in New Orleans, who was the offensive coordinator from 2009 to 2023. He goes and tabs him as his offensive coordinator to help Josh Allen and company reach that Super Bowl that they so desperately want to get to. What do you think of the hire of Pete Carmichael for Joe Brady as a guy that he can lean into and say, what do you think here? Joe Brady might still have a lot of say in the offensive style.
Oh, he will.
Carmichael will be able to come in and just give him his wisdom that he's got. I think it's 27 years coaching in the NFL.
Well, you know what it is you talk about familiarity. Pete was with Joe before Joe left to LSU.
Yes. Yep.
And Pete had been one of the long-standing coaches in New Orleans.
Yeah, 2017, 2018,
yes.
They were together in New Orleans.
That's exactly right. And even it was a short period of time, obviously impactful because Joe trusts Pete. And that's important, trust factor. And I would imagine even after a year, and I think for Joe Brady too, for his mindset, if Pete's going to call the plays, they'll decide. I'm sure he is, but because Joe trusts him. But if not, Joe's going to, maybe he'll end up doing what Robert Saleh is going to do, and we'll get to that, getting back as the head coach, which he didn't do last time, and we'll get to that shortly. But if you trust Pete's going to call the plays, not just have the coordinator label. They've been around each other enough to know that the verbiage. Guys, Segs, there's one thing: creatures of habit are coaches. And you don't just want the verbiage to be the same for your players. You want the verbiage to be the same for your coaching staff, so the off-season learning curve is shorter and closer together, right? I think it's a good hire. Pete, when he was with New Orleans, when Joe was gone and Sean Payton left, right? They went through some coaching situations. Dennis Allen, a defense coordinator. Pete, they just didn't. And when Drew Brees retired, they just didn't have the same offense. They just didn't, Segs. It's just a fact. And listen, Drew Brees doesn't retire. 75%, 74% completion doesn't fall off and land in your lap.
Doesn't stay the same. Yeah.
Right. And throw for 4 million yards. So
right.
I think it's a good hire because it's the familiar and he trusts whatever. He'll know that in those meeting rooms, what Pete is teaching, Joe knows. And Joe knows what he's teaching, which is a comfortability factor to keep Josh going and continue to build players around him and to keep Josh out of poor situations. I think this is a really good hire and a solid hire. And remember this, the only person that really needs to be comfortable with it is the head coach, and then to get the buy-in. I always mention buy-in, but it's true. You can be a great head coach if the guys don't buy in. Look what happened in Philadelphia this year.
Yep.
Look what happened. There was minimal buy-in offensively, and it showed. They just had good enough athletes to overcome it at times. So I do like it, and I think it does not shock me that Joe went and got a guy he trusts and believes in and was in a meeting room with for a minute.
Well, we had some breaking news right before the show started. The Minnesota Vikings have fired GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Some are saying this was widely expected across the NFL. Adam Schefter says that Vikings executive Rob Brzezinski will run the team's front office through the draft. So that means they will not be hiring a GM anytime soon. They will lean on who they have in the office now to run this team for the next 4 months through the end of April, at least, through the draft. So what do you think of this move? Do you look at the Darnold JJ McCarthy situation and say this is a big reason why? There's reports that Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell were not on the same page with a lot of stuff, and this is clear where the organization is saying Kevin O'Connell has the power right now. We think he's a better coach than you are a GM, and we want to keep him, and we're going to send you packing.
Yeah, I think that is a loud message and one that I don't disagree with. I don't. We're a year removed from a 14-win team that had a chance to beat Detroit and didn't play well, and then got to the playoffs and got beat up and then lost that quarterback. Segs, I listen, this isn't a shocking move to me. But here's the thing. Think how quickly things can change in this league.
Yeah.
A year ago, they were talking about him around the league as executive of the year. They were. Think about it. And you start to look at what some of the things they did is got a great wide receiver. They run the ball pretty good in the backfield. They drafted a first-round quarterback. They upgraded their offensive line. Their defense flies around. The Vikings should have been better this year. Now, the quarterback being injured a lot was a problem, and not having a solid veteran starter behind him. They're still trying to work. Max was not ready for that gig yet, although I know they like him there. And McCarthy, quite frankly, showed flashes. He wasn't ready. But the only thing, getting hit in the face should serve him well going forward as long as he's healthy and can get through. And this is speculation. I haven't talked to anybody. I go on in Minnesota weekly with my guy Dan Barrero at KFan. But the inside of it, and probably need to, of why. I'm always looking for the whys this happened. Here's the way I look at it. I don't think you have to be a genius. And I think we can all speculate on, okay, they've made some good moves and drafted some good players. How does this final decision not come down to the Darnold situation? Now, I don't know what side it was. Is it KOC that loved Sam and wanted him and the front office didn't? Or is it the front office that loved McCarthy because they drafted him? Remember, that GM had more power than O'Connell. Now, without a GM in the building, O'Connell obviously is going to assume, I'm sure, a lot of the power since you're using Brzezinski to handle. And it's a smart move by the Vikings not to hire somebody right now and force feed a square peg in a round hole to get them to get ready for the draft when they're not familiar with the personnel. Keep it in-house and go find your GM. You don't need to have a fast search. This is fine. Focus on the draft. I don't know if it does, Sakes, but the Sam Darnold situation couldn't have helped. Whatever. And when a GM and a head coach, when one of them gets fired, obviously there's difference of opinion. They're not on the same page. They're just not. Because you don't go 14 wins and turn around and fire a guy after all the change. And you wouldn't fire a coach the next year after 14 wins if he plays bad 2 or 3 years in a row or coach is bad. Then you change it. So this happened quickly, but obviously it's been something that's at least been whispered around the league. But Sam Darnold wins 14 games, goes to the Pro Bowl. I'm not saying the Pro Bowl is a big deal, but it was good enough for the players to think he belonged there and the fans. And then goes and takes a team to the Super Bowl in Seattle that they haven't been in since the days of Russ Wilson and the Legion of Boom. So that's not coincidental. Now, you had to have other people help you. The Vikings, good team. But listen, you ain't getting to 14 wins unless the quarterback's productive. And you're not winning in a playoff game if the quarterback plays shitty. Sam did last year, and he's played out of his mind in the postseason this year. And they're winning. It's not coincident. It's not by chance, okay? It can't help me to think, Segs, and I don't know which one of them wanted or didn't, is the Vikings would have been better if Sam Darnold was the quarterback this year, even though I think McCarthy can be a really good player. I see flashes of it, but he's just throwing the ball and pushing it down the field. Darnold's a better player right now. So what would have happened? Who knows? But you think about this, Segs, what are we paying starting quarterbacks now? $50 million about the going rate, right?
If
55.
If they
right
think
around
you're a
there.
franchise guy, it's 50.
That's what I'm saying. Right. And if you're making less than 45, they still wonder about you. Correct, Segs? As a starter that's been there and you negotiate your contract. What's Darnold getting paid? Between 35 and 40?
Yeah, roughly right in there.
What would it take? What if Minnesota says to Sam, we'll give you 3 years at $110 million. Would he be in Seattle right now? The answer is no. And you and I both know it. He would have stayed because he liked KOC. He liked that system because remember O'Connell, McVay, Shanahan. He says that he learned as much about anything when he was the backup in San Francisco. So you take it over. It's a smooth transition for him. O'Connell probably talked to these guys. I mean, I would imagine I would talk to everybody that knows what kind of player is Sam. Probably liked him when he came out of school like everybody else did. Well, here we are, Seg. So you say, well, think about the bargain. Sam Darnold is a bargain in the NFL right now after his last 2 years for Seattle. Oh, he is. Because now they look at him as a franchise quarterback. If he had these 2 seasons and his contract was up now, Segs, $60 million, right?
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in that range. So you could have got him for about $20 million cheaper, and he'd been your starting quarterback knowing the system, and you would have still had a bridge for McCarthy to learn and see. And even if you wanted to franchise Sam Darnold, Segs, you could have kept him on a franchise tag for a year, right? While you wondered if and it was like what's that, the old let me see how you do 2 years in a row, right? Well, I think he answered that in Seattle. So to me, somehow, some way, there's no way that the Sam Darnold situation, and now he's in the Super Bowl, which just heightens the awareness. You tell me that didn't have at least something to do with it. Yet I don't know which side either guy was on. The Sam Darnold situation had to make that hypersensitive. There's no doubt about it.
100%. All right, moving on to something you kind of mentioned. You mentioned Robert Saleh talking about coordinators and stuff, and he brings in Brian Daboll. But Saleh did his press conference, and here's what he had to say on what he wants his team to look like.
What do you want them to be known for week in and week out?
Fast and violent, man. Play in and play out. We're going to play with speed. We're going to play confident. We're going to have some swag. Talk a little shit. But I want them to show who they are, play in and play out. And like I said, the one thing that you'll notice is the speed at which we play and the violence at which we do it.
I mean, that's got to be music to Titans fans' ears. Just somebody to bring back just the physicality of the old Texans, or, you know, back when they were really good with Steve McNair and all those teams. They haven't had that in a while. Even when Ryan Tannehill was there, they were winning some games, but it wasn't good enough. And I think Saleh and bringing in a guy like Brian Daboll, just two guys, one's the head coach, one's the OC, but they're going to run their own way. And I think together they can turn this around decently fast if given time. If the ownership doesn't meddle and they can get in there and work their magic on each side of the ball, I think these two guys can take Tennessee and turn them into a AFC South contender in the next couple of seasons.
Quickly, too, Segs, this is the best coordinator head coach they've had, even while Vrabel was there, in my opinion. Vrabel head coach,
right,
obviously been doing
really
it longer than Saleh. Daboll is the offensive coordinator. He'll be, well, you know who was, well, when they had Arthur Smith, when they were killing it with Tannehill and Arthur Smith, this is the best they will have had, and if not more. This is a great hire in both situations, and I love it for Robert Saleh. He doesn't have to mess. Now, as a head coach, you got to CEO it all. I get that. But he has to have no worry about, is the system or is that guy, Brian Daboll, coaching my guys right? Yeah, you watch him in Buffalo. He's got everything. He's been a coach that's been really, really good coaching offensive football for a long time. So you can now do what I need Robert Saleh to do, call the defenses. Because when he was in New York, and I think he kind of admitted this, and I'll kind of paraphrase, that he was a flag-throwing fan on the sidelines. The red flag, kind of overseeing, because he turned the defense over. And I think at one point he grabbed it back, Segs. Maybe, I'm not sure if he did during that one of those seasons. But Robert Saleh, is there anybody on the planet who doesn't think this is one of the best respected defensive coordinators and best defensive coordinators we've had the last decade? Yeah. He is. And well, hence why San Francisco said all these good, come on back, dude. And I think we all thought Robert Saleh was going to get another chance. I know Dr. J's been talking about Saleh since he left the Jets and how he goes back. Dr. J on our show, not Dr. Julius Ervin might too. I don't know.
He might be.
I love the attitude. And I think when Robert Saleh got the Jets job, first off, you're going into dysfunction anyway. Secondly, the quarterback missed Zach Wilson, so that sets you back. And it falls in your lap as the head coach and the GM. When the GM, because of, well, it's your guy. With that in mind, Segs, it's almost like Robert Saleh was treading lightly as a first-time head coach. And I get it. It's New York. It's media. Expectations. Even when they're not winning, there's expectations. I think this dude gets back, and I love what he said. We're going to come in here fast and violent, and we are going to talk shit, and we're going to get it rolling. Now, that's the guy who's coaching defense in San Francisco, the guy that – and I want him to call the plays defensively, to get back into that mode until he trusts the next guy to do exactly what he's doing. And then he'll feel hands-on, Seg. Sometimes when you're not, you're like, damn, it's like retirement, right? So you're like, yeah. What do I do now? Go play.
Put in all your work during the week, and then Sundays it's like,
yeah, it's like you become you're a bystander. It's like
you just yell at people for random shit.
Hey, go for it on 4th and 1. And I think you're trying to feel out your coaching staff. To me, if that's how he is and that's how he's going to approach it, Tennessee will turn it around quickly. And Brian Daboll will impact Cam Ward. I'm just telling you, he will. I love it, and I love that he's going to do that. And hands-on without micromanaging. And what allows him to even focus more on the defense, Segs, he doesn't have some who shot John Harry Hatchet ass guy running his offense. He's got a guy, a dude. And Brian Daboll is a dude. I'm not saying 5 years from now, dude. I'm telling you right now, they get some players in this draft and do something in free agency. We know their defense is going to fly around and knock your dick in the dirt.
Yep.
Is the question here is how quickly do the offensive personnel get rolling with Brian Daboll? Yeah. And the South, while we were laughing at the South at the beginning of the year, not named the Colts and the Jaguars, or even going into the season outside the Texans is a better way to put it.
Right.
And we saw elevation from the Colts, elevation from the Jaguars. You're going to get. You don't be surprised if you get similar elevation in the next few years. Maybe not as fast because Lawrence has been in the league, but Jacksonville Jaguars feel of, oh man, they got 4 or 5 games better because now you've got guys that hoard the coaching experience. Daboll's been a coordinator and a head coach, and they've both, Segs, we're in the same building at the same time. Jets and Giants having to deal with all that goes with that, meaning Daboll and Saleh, and here they are. I love it. I think this is one of the sneaky hires, not just it may not be sneaky with Saleh, but the fact that Brian Daboll's not a head coach and he's going to be your offensive coordinator is a legalized theft for the Tennessee Titans. Massive
win for Robert Saleh.
No doubt.
You mentioned how San Francisco welcomed Robert Saleh back immediately. Soon as he was out, it's like, come on back. Like, we want.
But he
you
wasn't
back.
down. But his dog on desk wasn't cleared out before Shanahan had him on speed dial.
Well, that also happened with another team, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. Offense struggles this year. They dealt with some injuries. Matt Nagy looking at other places for maybe getting back into the head coaching realm, and maybe he still will with a couple of these openings. But one thing we know is he's out as OC of Kansas City. So kind of by the way of looking at head coaching jobs, Kansas City's like, yeah, go ahead, go look, and don't come back. Don't come back. They bring back Eric Bieniemy and to be the offensive coordinator for this Chiefs team that, again, struggled. But here's what Eric Bieniemy had to say about taking over the Chiefs offense again and what he expects from them.
Well, I'll say this. There's some things about me that have changed, but more than anything, EB is EB. We will still be disciplined in detail and everything and how we handle our business. There's a standard of performance. There's a standard of excellence that'll be expected. But on top of that, there's been a great deal of wealth that I've learned, through the good and through the bad. And the thing that I appreciate is just helped me to grow into this role and have this opportunity to be in this situation again.
Love him. I've known EB a long time. I love that the third person EB calls himself EB. I love it. Listen, man, Segs, you got a favorite shirt, T-shirt? Honestly, I'm being serious. You got a favorite shirt you put on?
Yep.
That you've had a while.
Long time.
When you take it off and put another one, you say, man, I bought this new shirt or golf shirt that you kind of go to because you played your best round, right? And you get it washed and you go out, and just before you walk out the door, you go to play with 3 of your buddies. You're like, I got to put this on because I got to show up and my shirt just feels right.
Right.
That's Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City. And the guy coached his ass off. Now, it hasn't worked out as a head coach, getting that job. Whether it's he didn't interview well. One thing I know that if you don't have I went through this with Mike Leach. Mike and I talked about it too. Mike beat to a different drum. If you didn't have an athletic director that and a lot of them didn't, or I'm talking about the big powerhouse schools' sakes, didn't think like Mike. Because Mike, listen, if you don't speak fluent Mike Leach, and I do because my brother's went to college with him, been best friends, and Micah, it's like you try to listen to a good Cajun speak, like when they get deep Cajun, and you pick up about every third word, like in what's the show with Adam Sandler? What's Waterboy? That the coach. It's like the guy who was out there. It's like you pick up every third word, but you just know, right? And it's a good thing. It's home, and it's the same with and. It's the same way that golf shirt, or it's the same thing with that feeling of, okay, I just get it. I speak fluent Mike Leach. Right. I speak fluent Mike Leach. So when Mike's thinking, I'm like, here's what's coming next. If I'd been an athletic director, I'd have hired Mike Leach 15 years ago because you got to beat to a different end. You just kind of like, Mike's different. It's okay. He doesn't like to go to, events and shake hands and kiss babies. He wants to talk ball and have a dip in his mouth, right? That's who Mike was. So you put him in the comfort zone. Eric Bieniemy is Kansas City Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy is fine. He's different from Andy. Andy's the calm. Now he'll get on you and he coach you right and discipline. But EB on the practice field, if you decide to jump off sides 3 times, your ass will be sucking buttermilk, man. He is and I friggin' love him. So even though it hasn't worked out as a head coach, it's just who he is in Kansas City. They need it, Segs. I'm telling you what, their offense has been, they've started to get a little long in the tooth, and they've lost their vertical edge, and they've lost that ability to be physical and pound you. They got Pacheco. They got some guys who could thump you. And EB will demand it. He always has. And maybe he's a lifetime coordinator, and who knows? I know this, though. He's impactful. Love him. I think along the way, I think he always knew, and Andy loves him. He loves Andy. He knows what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah. And quite frankly, they had their best times with him in that building. I think this is a great get. And while it's a bummer for EB not getting what he wanted, this is as close to what he's wanted. This is as close, at least for now, that he's getting to what he wants, because he's back home. Right. It's the T-shirt that fits. That's all got a little, he's been around, and it's got that nice vintage feel. That's Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City. And it's also Andy's trust. It goes back to familiarity. I'm just telling you that it. Are you hiring somebody that's I'm talking about your right-hand lieutenant that you don't trust or hasn't been? Of course not. You're going to hire the guy you do. And Andy knows, listen, and if EB gets a job, he may call Nagy again 2 years from now. Who the hell knows? Because of the familiarity. But I know this. Kansas City needs a cleat in their ass to get their offense back to where they're going. And they're going to start the season, Segs, in a way that doesn't allow them to have the bandwidth they had, because Patrick Mahomes won't be starting the season. And that's another reason why having EB there, the energy, he's energy personified. Dude, he's Red Bull times 5. Big fan of his. I think this is a great hire and I don't just keep saying great hires. I question how some hires across the league are going to work. I know Dayball's presence and I know EB's presence are going to fit well with what they're trying to do. And we've already seen Bieniemy take care of this in his career. Yeah.
Something we talked about yesterday was just the moronic take of Emmanuel Acho talking about Todd Monken getting the job and why should Shedeur Sanders listen to Todd Monken, because he hadn't done anything as an NFL head coach, because he hasn't been an NFL head coach yet. He loved the hire of Joe Brady, who hadn't been an NFL head coach. But, and I mean, he's been torched.
Makes me laugh.
By, everybody, from former players that are just mocking him, telling him how stupid he is, you got former players that are kind of in the media making fun of him because he took the channel over from Skip Bayless and just basically took that over and took all his listeners and viewers. I was going to say
they got that site built up with a lot of followers like overnight. Yes, it's like, where the hell did 500,000 of those come from?
So everything going on with Emmanuel Acho over the last 2 days of just after the stupid take that was put on Shedeur Sanders and Todd Monken. Speakeasy, which is the show that he's on with LaShawn McCoy and company. This is what they put on Twitter. I think it was last night. I saw it this morning. I think it was from last night. Just watch this video and tell me that you don't want to punch Emmanuel Acho in the face after watching this.
Take that to heart. But I don't just have one M. I have two M. I would take it to heart.
I like when he talk like
that. I don't just have one best-selling
young
book.
Man.
Pop it, okay. Or 2 best-selling books. I have 3 best-selling books.
Come on now.
And a New York Times best-selling book.
Yeah.
I would take that to heart, but I didn't just give like a TEDx talk. I was asked to give like a national TED talk in Vancouver. I would take that to heart, but former President Bush flew me to Dallas to speak to him. I would take that to heart, but Michael Jordan called me and said, hey, fly to New York and speak to my company. I would take that to heart, but Oprah Winfrey got my number and called me and said, hey, Emmanuel, you're writing a book. I want to write a book with you. Happy birthday, Oprah. Today's her 72nd. I would take that to heart, but I gave a commencement speech to 60,000 at the University of Texas at Austin, my alma mater, in the stadium. So I just can't take to heart that I don't do this because I don't like to toot my own horn, but when I do, it's just toot. So I can't take to heart that I'm not good at this because everybody talking to me respectfully, y'all might have been better players, but when it comes to this, we're just not on the same level. Every now and then, you have a bad take.
Yeah. All right, that's real.
That's the smartest thing he said in the whole rant. That's the smartest thing he said. Every now and then you have a bad take. Unfortunately, sometimes people have takes that are so bad that when you start to question when a mic's in front of you, in your mouth, and a camera's in front of your face, the credibility of it. Listen, I don't care that he wasn't a star in the league. That doesn't mean he can't talk sports.
Right.
I don't, and I'm not defending. What he said was asinine, stupid, and if that's his motivational speech, he'd never be hired. If his motivational speech was to stand up in Cleveland and say, I wouldn't listen to the coach, he'd never be hired as a motivational speaker again. Yes, he's won some Emmys, but how they vote on Emmys, you can decide that yourself. Yes, he's had 3 bestsellers. Nobody, I know on this show yesterday, I told you I thought he was a smart guy that knows X's and O's, and you did too, Segs. Get him on the board. He does. But it still doesn't alleviate you from the stupidity of that take. And if you're a teammate of his, and any time you got to go on a rant selling what you've done, then you yourself are insecure about having done it. Yep. Because in truth, do you think Michael Jordan ever has to? What does Michael Jordan do when people talk about the GOAT? He laughs at you.
Yeah.
Smirks. To me, and Acho's a smart guy. He has had some. He's had some books. I haven't read his books, but they've been successful. I give, and God bless him, man. He knows Mike and he knows Oprah. Great. Yeah, and I still got snubbed in Best Supporting Actor in a comedy role, a gay comedy role, as you like to point out a bench for me. No, whenever you got, listen, it's okay to have confidence. Somebody asks you, are you good at what you do? Yeah, I think I'm good at what I do. I put a lot of time into it. But the fact that after that, he had to take the shit that he laid and cover it with cologne, it's still shit. Because the cologne wears off, but the shitty take doesn't. Now, he's said a lot of really good stuff in his career. So I'm not sitting on the fence. I just judge it. I can compartmentalize. Doesn't mean he's never been good at his job. Not at all. Doesn't mean what he said yesterday. Sometimes he didn't need all that. You know what he could have said? Stared in the camera and said, guys, boy, was that a horse shit take by me. I've had some success in this business, but man, we're only defined, or at least people only remember the next play or the next comment, right? I was bad, and I put my team in a bad way. And you know what? I'm not going to do it again. I'll think before I speak the next time instead of doing it for hot takes. I owe you guys one. And you know what we'd all done, said, we've all been there. Yep. You don't have to tell us who hasn't had a bad hot take. We all have. But the fact that you're saying after all the stuff, oh, I had a hot take. He wants you to remember that he's a New York Times bestseller. Yeah. He doesn't need to tell us that. If we know, we know. If we don't, then you'll eventually find out. But to me, he could have very easily laughed at himself and said, you know what? Boy, was that awful. But now the fact that you go through that, the next time he opens his mouth and gives you a comment, what's your first thought, Sags? It's got to be headed a moronic way, right? Of course. Yes. So, like I said, I don't hate the guy. I just thought his take was about as dumb as I've heard in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I look at this and not to disagree with Isaiah here in the comments. He says Acho is not a smart guy. He's an idiot. I think Acho is a very smart guy in terms of the writing the book. He can speak really, really well.
Smart, say.
Yes,
book smart.
I think he's a very smart guy. I think he's smart on the X's and O's like we've talked about. But I think when it comes to the sports shows, the podcasting and stuff like that, when it comes to talking about the non-X's and O's, he's been awful.
He loses some of that.
He's been a terrible an analyst when it comes to this situation.
He's a pandering hot take guy on those situations.
There you go.
That's what
you can say the same thing about Cam Newton. You can say the same thing about Ryan Clark. You can say the same thing about Stephen A. Smith. They're all very smart and good businessmen, good, great book smart people. But when it comes to having to think about something and then speak on it, they've all shown their ass way too many times to be making the money that they make and having the platform that they have. That's the way I look at it.
Segs too with that. It's a great point by you. And he hits you with the triple whammy. But one is he completely unloads. How do you? If you're Todd Monken, are you just laughing? Monken probably doesn't even know what he said. He's probably laughing anyway. It's silly. But the comment holds no validity, and your advice. That's like going to give to a dare speech, like the police officers do dare segs. I'm sure your pops, who's a former cop,
father did
go to the dare speech at school to get up there and say, hey, the best way to do this is smoke crack so you'll learn not to like it. Right? Really? Okay. This was, hey, don't listen to your boss or your subordinate and do everything opposite of what he tells you. And then he even tripled it by saying, if I'm Shador, I mean, at least have the wherewithal to say, if I'm Myles Garrett. Because remember, Monken's not going in as the quarterback coach or offensive coordinator. He's going in as head coach, so he sees the whole team. At least go to the best player who's the spokesperson of your team. You went to a guy who's still trying to find his way. And as I said, between Monken, Acho, and Shedeur Sanders, and there's been a lot of success for all three in their career. Give me the order of success of the three, Segs, in their careers.
Todd Monken. And then
you can just whether you like the take, just success. It's got to be Acho second and Shedeur third.
Yeah.
Right. Just say whether you like the success or not, or whether you like what he said. But so of that, there was nothing about this conversation or his take that said brilliant.
Right.
It was stupidity the second he started, and he's not stupid. He's a smart guy, and he's a successful guy. And don't hate him. I'm just telling you, I compartmentalize and tell you, it was if you go shitty takes of the year at the end of the year, December 31st, they say, hey, predictions of the year, that will be that's sitting right up there at the top of the list with a couple others. There's no doubt. But
I don't care if the Browns go 0-17. That's still a dumb take.
That's exactly right. And it would be even dumber if Shedeur Sanders, Myles Garrett, and anybody else listened to it and applied it.
For him to have to tell us about the books and Michael Jordan's company and Oprah Winfrey and all this dumb shit that nobody cares about when it comes to this discussion. It's just like LeBron on the one podcast where he said, after I won that in Cleveland, that made me the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like you said, Michael Jordan will never tell you he's the GOAT. He lets
Michael lets everybody else tell. That's right.
He lets everybody
Which is the way it should be. When's the last time you heard Denzel Washington tell you he was the best actor in the world? Which he
think of all the greats. I mean, the only one and different time, the only one that would ever tell you he's the greatest is Muhammad Ali. But he could back that shit.
And he was. He absolutely was. And if he did agree, knock the shit out of it. So there you go.
Wayne Gretzky.
That's the one guy.
You just look at the best of all time. They don't. Shohei doesn't tell us. Like, it just doesn't happen.
They may give you a little dig, like if somebody asks Gretzky, well, 9 MVPs, I guess, says a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say much. And you're so right. Muhammad, but he's the guy that if Muhammad wouldn't have bragged and told us how great he was, we just step back and say, oh, no, dude, brag more, because you are the greatest of any. I mean, you are Gretzky, you are Jordan, you are Muhammad. Matter of fact, of all those guys, guess who was first on that list? Ali, brother, for a lot of different reasons. So, yeah, man, when you got to pander for that, he can come away. He can get out of this. I mean, Acho can by laughing at himself. One thing we got to do in this business that a lot of us at times, and hopefully some of us do it better than others, but we've all been guilty of it, is first of all, quit taking yourself so damn seriously and comment so seriously. But secondly, is be able to admit when you fucked it up or when you said something stupid. I mean, we all love a comeback. We all want to, hey, man, you know what? My bad, dude. You are 100% correct. Listen, Segs, I've looked at guys over the kind. I'm trying to think of who I thought Darnold was I thought he'd be great to start out. It just took him a little bit. You can go through anybody that we said, I think that guy's going to be a great player. 4 years later, guy's out of the league. We've all done that too. Hey, man, my bad. My bad. You win on this one. Sometimes we just want to know you're human. Then to go right into, I did this and I run with hope. That's not real life, man. 99.8% of the people you're talking to don't get that. Nobody cares. If you give us a good story about what you and Oprah talked about at dinner, that's awesome. But hard to give a motivational speech when the speech you just gave was asinine. But he just admit it and run with it. This too will pass. Not that big a deal. We all got to be better when we got a mic in front of our face. I think it being a little more accountable and responsible, because nowadays, dude, you are checked on everything. And every soul it felt like 340 million people checked his ass yesterday.
Yes.
It did. And probably should have, because it was horrendous advice from a smart guy.
And that's what makes the video so dumb that they put out, because everybody checked him. Everybody was making fun of him. And then for you to come out and try, not double down, because you did say you had a bad take, but you had to do, if the video was a minute long, you used 58 seconds to tell us how great you are. Yeah. And then 2 seconds to say, yeah, my bad.
Segs, you know what? It's like anything. Had the feedback from big time people not been harsh, I'm talking about everybody unload. Hell, Benjamin Watson doesn't load on much. Benjamin, who's a great dude, said that this is loud and this is basically not good, right? But it was everybody, including me, including you. But you know what, Segs, is with all that, had there'd only been a couple of them, and he would have got a little traction with somebody saying, "Yo, that's not some big star saying you're right."
Mhm.
Do you realize? Hell, even Shedeur Sanders could come out and say, "Acho, no, that ain't it, brother." Yeah, even regardless by doing this and saying that he would not have gone and made the video the next day, the makeup call today, then tell us he would not have said anything. He would have rode with it like, yeah. The only reason he had to try to bury it is because and cover it with all this other shit is because he knows it was all. He put it out there in hopes that somebody'd ride with him, and nobody did. Nobody.
Even his brother, Sam, who played linebacker in the NFL and went to Texas, is on ESPN doing college football stuff. He probably texted his brother and was like, "Dude, you a dumbass." Like,
yeah,
like that was stupid.
This is one where you throw a party and hope everybody comes, and then everybody's going to the other guy's party and nobody shows up at the crib. Bad. Yeah. But listen, today's another day for him to put a mic in front of his face and tell us something new. So we'll see.
Yeah, he'll and something dumb.
But I know this. He knows Oprah. Mike wants him to speak to his company. He got 2 Emmys, 3 best-selling books, the New York Times bestseller. I ain't got that. Good on him. But what I do have is I would never give advice to tell you not to listen to your coach, especially when you're still trying to prove that you can be the starting quarterback, and you're not the starting quarterback when you go into the fall.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Just stupidity. Before we get out of here and do our bet of the day, which we'll do some college basketball, a couple things I saw. Catherine O'Hara, the mother from Home Alone, she passed away today.
That hurts, man.
Yeah, that was TMZ.
I freaking loved her.
That about an hour ago. Right after.
God bless her and her family. She was a legend in that movie alone. Yes,
all kinds of movies. Schitt's Creek, which is a great show. She was the mom in that. She was great in that.
Really versatile, man, and really, she felt like she could be everybody's mom from Home Alone, right?
Yes.
Loved her.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sad for her family.
And then we got the news yesterday of Lou Holtz in hospice care. So that normally means it won't be too long till he passes. And I'm sure we'll talk about it when it does happen, but just thoughts out to him. And because Lou's been great. Lou's had some really funny moments. He's had the Ryan Day situation was the best to me.
He's not afraid to ruffle feathers, man. I love him. He was a hell of a coach. Yeah. I don't want to talk about him like he's been a hell of a coach, and he's in hospice, and anybody who's been through that, and I'm not going to go on a big soliloquy, but I can tell you this: when I lost my dad, and our prayers to Coach Holtz and his family and Skip Holtz and the whole family. He was a great motivational speaker, a phenomenal coach, and just a darn good human being. Whether you politics and all that, we could compartmentalize. Lou Holtz was a very impactful person.
We had him on the show a couple times back when we were together in Houston, and you never knew what he was going to bring up.
And that's what makes it great. Yeah, awesome. Tee him up, and you never had to worry if he had knowledge on just about everything because he was smart. I mean, well read.
Yes.
I remember my father was in hospice. My family, my siblings, and I are really close. And you hate to say this because you're always praying for a miracle, Segs. Like somebody, I don't know how often somebody goes into hospice and gets back out and recovers and lives 15 more. I don't know. So nobody's burying him yet. But when you hear the word hospice, the first things that comes to your mind, you're trying to get somebody comfortable in the family to say their goodbyes and to live comfortably at the end. Well, my dad, and we knew it then too, he died of mesothelioma in 9 months. He was perfectly healthy. 9 months later, he was done. But I remember we put him in hospice, and all our family was there was probably about a week. And Segs, the emotion in there, so hard to control. The crying. My dad was my best friend from all the family, and how close we were because my mom and dad were everything to us. And his story, and just to tell you the intensity you go through, and that's why my brother and I, every little move. My dad, when you're sedating them so they're not in pain, right? Yeah. And I remember telling the nurses, and I was so frustrated. And they were so good at hospice, so good. But you're only thinking about one thing. My pops at the time, I'm sure they'll be thinking, but in the emotion, my family, you could tell, I wear my emotion on my sleeve. My older brother does too. My younger brother, my sister, what a family. And my brother was giving my dad never had a pedicure in his life. My brother was giving my dad a pedicure while he was dying. I'll never forget leaning over to my father about 2 days before he passed away. And I hugged him. I was laying just next to him in the room. And he said, "Man, son, I just can't believe this." My dad was the toughest man I ever knew. 82nd Airborne. But at the when he said that, it makes me choke up now because I'll never forget when he did. He said, I can't believe this. And what he meant was, he didn't have to say anything else. What he meant was, I can't believe this has happened this fast, and that he's in his 67, and that this is it in the next few days. When we threw a party for my dad before he had passed away, instead of waiting to party after, had him in a wheelchair, and all friends and family ready to come. We had a big party, some of my college buddies and a bunch of high school, and it was awesome because he got to see that love that people felt for him. And he knew it, but my dad wasn't a big talker. My mom's the talker. And I'll never forget my dad saying that. And I'll remember one time, just the emotion that the Holtz family probably handles it better than I would have. I didn't handle it well. And it sunk me into submission for a while.
Yeah.
I was going through my own troubles, and then my dad's guy was like hard. And I didn't handle it. I mean, my dad knew, but I'll never forget this, Segs, is I told the nurses, even with my mom there, and I told her, I said, just make sure, I don't care how much you have to give him. The last thing I want to hear is my dad blurt out in the middle of the night, because my mom is laying next to him. She's a worrywart about my dad. They were at 50 plus years of marriage. And my mom said, and when you say, Sean, 50 plus, my mom and dad were married at a young age. So it was like right at 50 years. And like I told her, I said, I don't want to hear my dad blurt out in the middle of the night, because with that medication, Segs, you start to go through the mind. It messes with your mind, right? And she said, no problem. And then one night, he did. And we were all staying there, sleeping on the couch in the foyer, wherever it was, in the lobby part of it, in your area, a little suite area. And I jumped up. My brother is the diplomat in the family. He's the patriarch of a lot of it. And he went in there and said, I said, I told you guys, I don't care how much he's dying. We're not worried about anything else. The dad's dying. And they were doing their job. I'm just talking about the emotions that families go through.
Raw emotions.
I'm sure a bunch of people are living that, have lived it. And it just hits me when I think about Coach Holtz and hospice. And I got on him. And my brother and I, who were close, and he said, Sean, back off. They're doing their, and I knew they were doing their best. It wasn't personal, right? But it hit me hard because I woke up and I was worried about my mom's reaction, knowing that my dad was hurting. And they were phenomenal care, hospice care, phenomenal. But that one moment hit me. And my brother went, and I went home and I said, get out of my face. They need to make sure Dad, and we got in a fist fight. And dude, my dad was sedated and out of it. My mom looked at us like, what are you idiots doing? It wasn't like a dragon. We're fighting on my dad's lap, right? But he got on me and I swung at him. And not a lot of people know this. I don't have a problem sharing it because I'm as transparent as it gets. My dad was out in the drugs, and dude, my dad woke up from that and he said, boys. That's all he said. And I looked at my brother. He looked at me. Shameful. Felt horrible. Told her I was sorry. My brother and I hugged. My mom looked at us and she said the same thing about it. She goes, boys. And the thing that hit me is, even when you're going through that, my dad knew that these two idiots are so emotional.
Still had to come back one more time.
Right. He had to come out the night before he dies, come out and say, you idiots, boys, meaning stop it. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, man, the Lord works in mysterious ways. But I'm like, Sean, you're an idiot, and cut the emotion. But I was in that place, right, where it didn't matter because I knew it was going to have my dad, and we got to see him take his last breath the next day. But I'll never forget it because it added a sense of humility. It added a sense of just validating how tough my old man was, drugged up, still hurt us, and said, boys. And I looked at my brother like, yeah, I'm an asshole.
How many times in your lives, just like for me, I have twin boys, they're 10. They are constantly fighting. Last night, that's what I say, like verbatim. When I hear them going at it, it's just boys.
You don't even have to look at them. They just know.
Yeah, you just yell it and they stop. And I'm sure you heard it thousands of times growing up. Just that one word. And then it's like, oh shit, Dad hurt us. Like, and
then when he's off the meds, you go in and you apologize because when he comes to a little bit, he can at least talk, right? Yeah, a little bit, or he at least understands. And then within 36 hours, my pops had passed away after that. But I'll never forget it. So I guess my thoughts are to the Holtz family or anybody that goes through this. You know what? It's okay to have those emotions because they matter, and nobody should squelch them. But don't punch your brother in the head or the face. Okay, don't do that. And my brother's tough as hell too. He looked at me like, "Oh, this ain't the first time this has happened. Do you want to get into it right now?" So it was crazy. But God bless the Holtz family and anybody who's going through it, Segs. And here's a horrible segue: have a beer from Spindle Tap
Yes.
To celebrate your pops' life. If you're into that, or have some coffee to keep you awake from Spindle Tap, and say that it's trying to add a little light to something that when you hear about the home alone mom, and that's what I've always called her, and she's awesome. And Coach Holtz, who's, like I said, impactful. Both of them were part of our child growing up. We were in a team, played against Coach Holtz, right? And I watched Home Alone like 400 times this Christmas, as I do every December. And it's like as if the script's going to change when I see Joe Pesci falling.
They're going to get him one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But spindletap.com, folks. I've told you about it. The beers, whether it's an IPA, celebrate and make a toast if you're into that, or a glass of water. But if you're into Spindle Tap or a cup of coffee and into beer, celebrate those you love and do it safely and responsibly. But spindletap.com, deliver it right to your door, whether it's IPA, Mexican beer, light beer, double IPA. They're coming out with seasonal. They just came out with a new beer. I'll post it on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Check it out. It's awesome. And when you get here, it's the best brewery around. You can play cornhole, 3 acres of plush place to have. And they built a new part of the facility where you can go in there and have private parties. The food's off the charts. The cold beer's through the roof. The customer service, the beer master, all of it is great. Pickleball. You can play bags, cornhole. You can play wiffle ball. The facility is set up for families to have fun outside, and for the adults to have a cold one. And the beer is phenomenal. And when beer tastes good and the facility's there and the customer service is right, and you don't have to take out a small mortgage to get a 6-pack of beer, and you love it, why in the world would you stop going to it? And after that, when you head down to Hobby Airport, guess what? There's going to be a Spindle Tap. It's in there now. So you can stop by Spindle Tap Bar in there, that brewery, great beer. And I love what Brody Chapman's doing in the group over at Spindle Tap. And I'm grateful to be a partner. I'm grateful they partner with us here at Unpaved, Segs. And a friendship and a partnership that'll last a lifetime. And the beer's really damn good.
Yes.
So there you
yes.
go. Spindletap.com. There you go.
Sounds good. Need to have some tonight while we're watching our bet of the day. Tonight we got a big matchup.
How did we go? We didn't have. How did we do yesterday, Segs? I didn't see the score.
We lost. They only won by 9. They didn't play well, I thought.
It was 12.5, right, Segs?
Yeah, it was 12.5. They won by 9. So I especially early, they didn't show up and weren't able to extend it out. Like I
watched the first half of the game, Segs, but I didn't see the second half. And I forgot to look this morning what they did. I mean, they won, but I think we both took the over and Illinois by 12.5. I think.
Yeah.
So.
Tonight we got a top 10 matchup: Michigan versus Michigan State. It's in East Lansing. So Michigan State's at home.
How did I know you were going with that one tonight? Segs?
Well, I mean, it's maybe one of the biggest games of the year so far this season. Michigan's actually a 1.5-point favorite on the road at East Lansing. I don't know the last time that happened. And the number sits at 147.5. I don't like the number at all. I'm of course going to pick the Wolverines, but I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. Both these teams. Michigan's coming off a win against Nebraska, who's ranked number 5, I think they are. And they probably shouldn't even won the game, but they found a way to win. And the Big Ten's really damn good in college hoops. I've watched so much college basketball over the past 2 months.
But Segs, that's kind of repetitive. They're always good.
Yeah.
It's just they look like last year's SEC right now, the way they play.
The top of the top with Purdue, these two, Illinois and Nebraska. I mean, you got 5 teams that are top 10 teams right now.
And Segs, we're not used to saying Nebraska's name in that mention. We're just not used to talking about on a consistent.
Neither are Nebraska fans, because if you look at them on Twitter after the Michigan loss, they don't know what to do. Like they've never won. I don't know if Nebraska's ever been good. And they lose one game, they were 20-0 and then they lost, and they're all like, oh, it's the ref's fault. Michigan cheated. Big Ten just wants Michigan. They're
not used to us calling them a basketball school,
right?
Now.
Yeah,
that's right.
So they had no idea. But yeah,
what would you say the number? What is Michigan laying?
1.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out of the bucket. You know my affinity. Part of this is just to get at you, because you'll do this to my Trojans on the football field once in a while. I know basketball, and your team completely curb stomped, as did Michigan State back-to-back against my team on the road this year.
Yep.
I think the combined difference was about 40 points in the 2 games when we lost. I'm going to take Michigan State in this one, Segs. We're getting into Tom Izzo time, right?
Yep.
And I know you joke about Izzo, but I know you respect him as well. This is one thing I can guarantee, Segs. I don't know the outcome. They're going to bang each other. I promise you that. This will be a physical game. Yes. Give me Michigan State on the money line, Segs. I'm taking Michigan State to win. It doesn't mean I think tonight this will be close. It's basically a 1.5 in a basketball game. It's a basic
Yeah,
pick 'em
just
for the most part. I'm going to take Michigan State, just go a little opposite of you. Much respect for both. This is a great game that you don't want to miss. Grab your spindle tap while you're at home doing it. And yes, I'll take Michigan State in a close one, and I expect it to be physical and maybe a last possession or two to win the game, Saints.
Yeah, and then
Give me the Spartans tonight.
We've got Illinois versus Nebraska, which is a top 10 matchup. Then we got Florida, Alabama, which is a top 25.
A great hoops weekend on a non-football.
Those are Sunday, and then Saturday is just the full gambit of games with, multiple Kentucky, Arkansas. So that's obviously Calipari.
Good old conference play, which I love.
Yes.
Yep.
So great college basketball weekend. Don't worry, Sunday. I know we didn't break it down. We will break it down Monday, the Pro Bowl. We will let you know what happened. Coach JB is, I think, going to really, really watch it and break it down for us, I'm sure, because he's,
I'm going to get Coach JB on a – I'm going to get Coach JB on a bender, a rant bender on Monday about the Pro Bowl. Somehow, some way, I'm going to lead him down to where he's pissed off and slinging F-bombs everywhere. I can't wait.
That's all we look forward to on Monday.
And by the way, to Haganator, thank you for the compliment, and Dustin about the story. I don't mind sharing stories. Listen, I'm transparent. Hell, why hide that? It was a family moment, but was one that I think maybe it can help somebody else moving forward when they're dealing with this. And I am looking forward to this college hoops weekend, not the Pro Bowl things, and there'll be a lot to discuss about college basketball, but also then we get a lot of preview next week about about the Super Bowl matchup, and right down to it. And yes, who said it about the coffee, Segs? We had to, remember I told you I love my coffee black and bitter, and
yes,
Dustin said, Sean, it's cool even though you're a racist coffee drinker. So there you go, because I like my coffee black. And we actually had a guy come on here yesterday and say, oh, that's you racist MFer. Well, I would have thought that if I liked my coffee with cream in it, you would have said it was racist. I would have thought you'd be jumping for joy and saying, man, black coffee? Yeah, and I don't know what coffee and race have to do with each other, but one of these days I'm sure we'll figure it out. But it's okay, and you guys have a great one. It's good stuff today.
Yep.
And it should be one hell of a hoops weekend, but I think everybody's still focused on right now. The nerves will start, I'll say this, the nerves for like playoffs and Super Bowl and talking to guys and being around guys who've been in the Super Bowl, whether they're Grey Cuppers or not. Around it becomes real this weekend, Segs, when you're on the plane to head where you're going and you get there and you get off that plane, it starts to kick in. Okay. And then around Tuesday or Wednesday after media day, then curfew starts to kick in. You're like, okay, now it's like, dude, you can't duck them. You know how people try to duck them? You can't duck it now. It's coming and it's inevitable. So you better prepare for it. You got time, because somehow in this game next week, Segs, somebody will choke, a player, a situation, and somebody will rise and raise their game to the point it'll be memorable that they'll never forget in a good way. And I can't wait to see it. I'm here for all of it.
We got two quarterbacks who've never been here. One's young in his career. One's been in the NFL a little while, but had to fight his way through multiple stops to get to this point and get to a team where he could lead them to the Super Bowl in Sam Darnold. So it'll be fun next week breaking it down with JB and ourselves, and maybe a few guests along the way as we get ready for the Super Bowl.
Two head coaches that have never been a head coach in a Super Bowl. Yeah. One of them's obviously been a player in more than one. So there you go.
Yep. All right. Well, we will be back Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Thanks to all our listeners and viewers. Thanks to Bailey and Laura. And go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. We'll talk to you guys Monday. Peace.
Unpaved Sean Salisbury here for bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.